if you're exhausted, if everyone depends on you, if your phone never stops ringing, that might be proof that might not be proof that you're a great leader, right? Like that does not make you a great leader. It might be proof that you're standing in the way of your team's growth. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Built Different podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tilghman, and the CEO of Tilghman Builders. Tilghman Builders is we're a medium-sized construction company, residential remodeling. We specialize in all large-scale home renovations, additions, whole house remodels, outdoor living, roofing, siding, windows, basements, bathrooms, I suppose. But we specialize in large-scale, complicated projects. Anything that's in a home and it's complicated and it could easily go sideways, that's really where our team comes in. That's where our team shines. A big part of what it is that we offer is maintaining a good relationship while we're in somebody's home for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It takes a special group of people, and it takes a good bit of coaching. What people expect in their home and what's going to drive them nuts and all that kind of stuff. So it's a complicated industry that we're in. There's a lot of things that our guys in the field need to know, and a lot of things that the folks in this office need to know as well. And so I think it's common in my industry for the owner or the leader, whether it's the CEO or the general manager. Well, probably not. If a company has a general manager, they're probably structured where they don't have this problem. But I would say this is probably mainly geared towards the owner of a company. We're kind of a medium-sized business, and so I feel like a lot of contractors get stuck kind of in that 1 to 5 employee type range. And I think that there's a good reason for it. And so, anyway, one of the mistakes that I made over the years was trying to rescue everybody. I had come in out of the field. I decided I was going to shake up the business. I was going to help it grow. And so all of a sudden I had just a major shift in my life. I was a field member. I was a leader of my crew. But then I was in the office, and now I was a leader of the other crews as well. And they would turn to me. Eventually they would turn to me for answers, and I would give them to them. It made me feel good. I had to work really hard, and I ended up having to work late, every day, and then Saturdays. But I really loved my role. I really loved stepping in. I felt like I was the man. It felt good. It felt good to be needed. But what I was doing was I was creating a team that was dependent on me. And I didn't realize it at first. I didn't realize it for a while. And I think pain makes change. And, hopefully this podcast helps somebody not make the same mistake that I've made and that so many countless business owners have made. And so anyway, it feels good to be needed. Like I get people walk into my office all the time. And the worst thing you can really do is just answer their question, solve their problem. And so anyway, this episode is to hopefully help you not do that. You have constant phone calls. Man, I remember when I had first stepped out of the field into the office, I was the operations manager. I became everybody's hero. That was part of my identity. I always answered the phone. I always gave good advice, and I always solved their problems. I was pretty good at visualizing. You could imagine in construction, visualizing a problem in the field. Sometimes we would FaceTime, but not all the time, not most of the time. And there'd be a lead carpenter on the other end trying to describe something to me. And I was pretty good. I got pretty good at visualizing their problem and then solving it. And, but I kind of painted myself into a corner, so it feeds your ego for sure. And if it wasn't for my life just becoming unmanageable, I couldn't handle my workload without working weekends and 12-hour days. And so, like I said, pain makes change. And that's exactly what pushed me to the inevitable decision. I mean, the inevitable outcome, which was I'm not involved in every decision. I'm not involved in the majority of the decisions that happen at the company every day. But because you become a bottleneck, and your company, the people that are in it, like you have every estimate, every client issue, every employee question, every change order, conflict. There's just a lot. There's a lot in any business, and I only know construction, but there's a lot in construction. There's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot that can be done just not quite right, and we still struggle with that today, but I've put people in positions of leadership where they now handle that, and I trust them wholeheartedly. So really in the beginning, I wanted the company to grow so badly, but it wasn't growing. As long as I was the guy that was answering every question, it wasn't growing. And so I really needed to step aside for myself, but also for others. And so it was a real powerful shift. Every time you solve someone's problem, you are stealing from them also. So this is an important point, and this ties in with culture, because I've said in the past, I will never clip the wings of anybody, right? I want everybody to grow and reach their potential. Even if it means quitting this company and starting their own company, that's great. And I encourage it. And I actually say it quite frequently to my team, because you can't just start a business with no experience. You'd have to, first become a good leader, become comfortable in the industry and all these things. But the other way that you could clip somebody's wings and prevent them from reaching their potential is by solving all of their problems. You're stealing from them their confidence, ownership, their decision-making ability, which is a big one because that's a muscle that takes a little while to grow. But you're also robbing them of their opportunity to grow, period. They need to become comfortable with making decisions and things like that. And so every problem I solved was one less opportunity for someone else to become a better leader. That's entirely true. And it wasn't until I really stopped answering the phone that the guys started really stepping into their role. And so I guess it's a loaded topic. I want my team to know that I'm there for them, and they do. And at first, but I needed to stop answering the phone. It was crazy. My phone was ringing off the hook. The guys were not being resourceful. Oftentimes I'd answer my phone and I would say, they would have a question, hey, are we reusing the gutters? Whatever the question was. And I would say, did you read your proposal? And then oftentimes it's like, oh, well, no, but like, or, and it's like the answer's in the proposal. Or a lot of times I would get a call and it would start by, hey, I know this is probably in the proposal, but just real quick question. Like, it's faster for me to just call you than to read my proposal. And it took some time to reverse that, but eventually it did. But I'll tell you flat out, like, I have a lot more to say about this, but the way I handled this was I stopped being available. And so I think that's another side piece to this whole thing is, as owners and really as anybody, I look through my whole team and I think about even, the youngest guy just sweeping the floor. Like, we have to protect our time. And more than that, we have to protect our headspace. We only have so much room in our brain. And yeah, we want to help people. That's why we're here. But we can't just, we can't just empty our cup all day long and pour into other people. you'd just be robbing yourself of precious life energy and your attention. So, it wasn't until I learned about protecting my time and really setting boundaries. That was what pushed me over the edge. That was what drove me. Was I wanted a peaceful life, and I was good at doing my work, but I was spending so much time doing other people's work too and answering their questions, questions that either they had the answer to or questions that they are more than capable of deciding on. So anyway, I just stopped answering my phone. I would get countless calls throughout the morning. And then, maybe around 1:00, I'd call some people back, people from my team. And 9 times out of 10, they would answer the phone and they would say, never mind. I figured it out. And what I realized was that's 9 out of 10 times. That's the answer they would give me. And so then I realized they don't actually need me. They can handle this. And I need to make them see that. I asked them to be resourceful. I asked them to be better at making their own decisions. But it was hard for them to adjust to that. And so I just ripped out the safety net. I just literally stopped answering my phone. And then I would get some calls in the afternoon and I'd give them a call back at 4:30 at the end of the workday. They would be on their drive home at that time. And I would oftentimes get the exact same response. And so the other thing that's really worth mentioning here is, if somebody has a last minute question, well, that tells me that they're not planning properly. That question, I would expect a phone call at, 3 p.m. about something they're going to be doing after lunch tomorrow, in that role, in the ops role. So anyway, that was how I handled it. And thank God I did. But instead of answering their questions, what we could instead, not everybody on my team has the luxury of not answering their phone. Now the guys in the field, they're trained well enough to know I only call when I really need something. And so JP's phone rings still quite a bit. And so does Derek's. Derek is our project manager. JP is our operations manager. Same job. JP just has more responsibilities outside of running projects. So, but when somebody comes with a question, instead of answering it, just say, what do you think? What do you think we should do? That's one way to handle it. Another way is just saying give me some solutions. What options have you considered? There's got to be 3 answers here. So what do you already have for me? And that was something that we trained our guys to start doing. Don't come to me with a problem without already having 2 to 3 solutions. So it really got them exercising that muscle. Another thing you could say, if I wasn't here today, what would you do? There's a huge distinction here. We want to give away responsibility, right? We want to give away not just responsibility, but ownership. You own this, and we do it constantly. We live that way in the office. I've built departments and then I've had to hand off responsibility of that department. JP is responsible for the operations department, which is him and Derek, the 8 lead carpenters, and all of the carpenters below them. Sink or swim, succeed or fail, it is his responsibility. But it took a while to get there. And the best thing I did as a leader for JP was saying, at first, I felt the need to micromanage. I was scared. I was worried. Only I can do this job. Nobody can handle the culture as well as I can. The guys like me. What if they don't like you, JP? Or I'm really good at writing emails. I'm not so sure about you, right? We have this head trash in our head. We think that we're the only ones that can do a job as well as good as we can. And what I've found pretty much every single time is that they not only do it as good, but they do it better. And I think that starts by giving ownership, 100%. If I was looking over JP's shoulder, monitoring every email, asking him to copy me on every email, which I did in the beginning, but what a gift it was for JP when I said, hey, JP, remember I told you to copy me on every email? Well, you've done a really good job. I trust you wholeheartedly. This department is yours. I'm here when you need me, Gave him a few things that are important to me, communicating frequently and clearly with clients, but also with employees or team members about things that are needed. And then obviously the culture. That was always a big thing. That was the thing I was most worried about. And he's better at that too. I'm kind of the feel-good guy. I'm the fun one. I like to laugh and joke and compliment people. And JP does all those things too. He does them differently than I do, but he has created accountability in the field, something that I wasn't doing as well as he does. He does a wonderful job at that. So we make a good team in that way, but giving him the ownership was really important. And until then, I was clipping his wings 100%, and the culture and the ops department did not take off until after I gave him full ownership. But all leading up until that point where I was comfortable giving him ownership, I told him the goal is for me to give you full ownership of this. So I didn't hide that from him. I said, hey, look, man, I think you're the right guy. And I'm not ready yet, but like, what does success look like to me? It looks like you talking to me only one time a week, and other than that, you run the department, you run the play. I trust you, and I trust that you'll make improvements that I couldn't see. And he's done exactly that. So anyway, when we're giving away responsibility, let's bring it down. Let's not hand off an ops department right now. Let's instead, somebody's going to install their first kitchen on their own or something. Instead of saying, can you do this? Instead say, this is yours now. This is yours. You got this. This is 100% yours. Ownership really changes people. I've seen it time and time again. Ownership, I have seen people really struggle in their role many, many times. And you never know how long it's going to take for somebody to get used to a new role. And sometimes you got to pull them out. Sometimes it's not the right person. But I have many, many instances where all they needed was ownership. They needed me to back off. They needed me to say, hey, man, I trust you. And it starts slowly. It starts by, hey, Eric, what do you think about this? Whatever. And then you say, yeah, well, I would do this, I would do that. And then slowly, maybe you're forced into it. Maybe you're just busy in that moment and it's a time sensitive thing. And you just say, you know what, man, you've shown me enough. I trust you. I trust that you did it just the way we've always done it. And you got this. Yeah. Just go ahead, send it. Right. And then it works out. And then they feel good. And then you're learning that, oh my gosh, nothing bad happened. I trusted him and nothing bad happened. So it's a learning curve for both people. The one person needs self-confidence, and the other person, me in this little story, is I need confidence in them, actually, is what I need. I need to just trust in other people, There was a time when I was in the field and I just thought nobody could make a cut as good as me. I was the best lead carpenter. I worked the fastest. I walked the fastest. I thought the fastest. I made decisions the fastest. I made the cleanest cuts the fastest. And I really thought highly of myself for a while. till I, was confronted by all of my team members who said, look, man, you're a terrible leader. We all hate working with you. And, we're just here to hopefully salvage the relationship and just let you know, like, you're not being good to us. And I wasn't being good to them, and, they let me down a little bit here and there, but like I got better at leadership and I got better at trusting. And, I look at like our best clients and then our more difficult clients. Our best clients, they let go and they trust, right? Faith, right? Anybody out there that is, a follower of Jesus, you would know that, we have to let go and trust. And some of our clients that don't let go and trust in our process and in our team members, a lot of times what we see is they'll go against the grain and kind of messy things up a little bit more than they would have needed to be. It's okay. We still learn from those experiences, and we're trying to navigate those types of personalities. But I needed to let go. I needed to let go and trust, and that's when my leadership really changed. Here's a big one. You need to let them struggle a little bit, right? Like if I came to work and somebody made every decision for me, I would go home. I wouldn't feel fulfilled. I wouldn't feel like a man. I wouldn't feel like a contributor. I'd feel like I had my hands tied. I'd feel worried and scared, and I'd feel like I'm walking on eggshells and that I can't do anything right. I often relate leadership to fatherhood because it is so similar. And I am the leader of my family, at least in some areas. My wife leads us in others. But I've always said, like, the hardest part about parenting for me would be letting them struggle. Like, I learned so many big lessons by like hanging out with the wrong crowd, going over their house, an embarrassing situation, like whatever it was. Being a kid kind of is tough, and it's going to be really hard for me to watch my kids go through the same difficult time that I went through. But leadership is no different. Leadership in a company is no different. We need our team members to go through that struggle. They need to. We can't just rescue our children every time they're struggling with something. If I'm trying to teach my son how to take this key off of this key ring, my son he just turned 7. My middle guy, Hayes, is who I'm thinking of. And I start explaining to him how to do it. And he starts trying. I can't take the keys away and say, no, here, let me do it. I got to let him struggle. And then he knows how to do that thing forever. We don't want to let them fail catastrophically, right? But we need them to think. We need them to wrestle. We need them to own their own outcomes and grow their lives. That's so important. So what changed at Tilghman really was, lead carpenters making decisions, project managers owning client relationships. Sean, our punch list guy, punch list and warranty, he owns that department. He struggled for a little bit. And it wasn't until me and JP looked him in the eye and said, hey man, we put you here because we think you're the right guy. We still feel that way. I know that you're struggling, and I know that this is new to you, and I know that it's uncomfortable, but we still think you're the right guy. And I want you to know that. And I want you to know that sink or swim, this is your department. You got this, man. You got this. And I want you to look back in 6 months or a year. And I want you to be really proud of how you've structured this department. This was a new department. We didn't have structure in this department. We wanted to take a little bit of workload off of JP, who was handling all punch list and warranty up until that point. It was very time consuming. He was missing the mark, and it was just too much. So we created this position in a brand new department that never existed before. And we asked Sean, we gave him the general, guidelines, the general things that are important to us, answering emails responsively and structuring your day, structuring your week and your time and things like that. And Sean was coming from a field position. And he, we just said, like, look, you're going to have to structure this entire department. And it's going to take time. So anyway, Sean's a great example of owning a department. Jay is another one. Jay is our senior estimator, and he, estimating is very hard. It's not an easy job. It's very taxing on the mind. You are sitting at a desk, staring at a spreadsheet all day long, and it's really challenging. And it's not always so rewarding. I gave him ownership of the department. I said, Jay, this is yours, man. Like, I want you to train. I want you to support your people. I want you to laugh. I want you to bring a good energy to your people in this department. I wanted, the culture has to be the same in all departments. It has to be good. And I gave him ownership of that. And here we are, I don't know, 6 months later, 3 months to 6 months later, and it's better than it ever was, because he was given ownership. So, the goal is not for everybody to need me. And remember, that's where this started. Before that, everybody needed Bob, my dad. So, the goal is to, and what I've seen in this company over the last 5-6 years is I'll kind of go into a department. I'll kind of become that department, really master it and figure it out and, set up some efficiencies. And then I train somebody to do it. And then I go into a different department and then I do the same thing. And then I train somebody to do it. And that has happened time and time again. But we would not be where we were if people were coming to me with problems. And really sometimes somebody will come to me with a problem and I'll just push them away. I'll say, I'm sorry, but I should not be involved. I should not get involved in this. It's not, I shouldn't be involved in this. This is my company and I'm the leader here, but, so like all problems are my fault. But sometimes if I get involved in a situation, I messy the situation. I mess it up. Because then I get involved, I solve the problem. Maybe a customer calls me. Maybe it's an unhappy customer, calls me. We talk, we figure it out. I apologize if needed. Usually it is. And then I go talk to the people that can really fix the problem. Because it's not me. I can just help the people that can help the situation. Your job is not to solve problems. Your job is to build people who solve problems. Let me say that again. Your job is not to solve problems. Your job is to build and encourage the people who solve the problems. They need support. They need clear direction, clear expectations. They need values to live by and a mission to be striving for. But we are building people. We are not, I should not be solving operations issues at this point. If there's a glitch in our system, if there's, I love solving problems like that. But if somebody nailed the crown molding up the wrong way, that's not for me, that's for somebody else. But only because I stopped answering the phone 4, 5, 6 years ago. I stopped answering lead carpenters' calls. Without that extra time, we couldn't have built the business. We could not have gotten to where we are today. So I want to stop for a second, and I want any business owner out there that's watching this, if you are, struggling to break through that barrier. I recently talked to a painter and a friend of mine, and I was asking him, hey, what do you want to do with the company? Like, how big are you getting? What's your plan for this year? Blah, blah, blah. And, he's struggling to find good help and all that. And I know how he feels. And he feels like he needs to be there for every decision and every coat of paint, but it's just not true. It's just not true. People want to reach their own potential. Most people are capable of a lot more than what they're being asked to do. And it's not a selfish thing. It's for them too. People want to grow. People want to reach their potential and they want to make more money. So anyway, if you're exhausted, if everyone depends on you, if your phone never stops ringing, that might be proof that might not be proof that you're a great leader, right? Like that does not make you a great leader. It might be proof that you're standing in the way of your team's growth. We want to build leaders. We want to give away responsibility. Stop being the hero. It feels good, but only so far. And eventually it stops. And then it just becomes something that you have resentment over. I certainly did. I was resenting everybody who called me. And I really needed that to stop because I love these guys, and I know that they love me too, but I was a crutch for them and I was not helping. I was not helping them. Because the strongest organizations aren't built around one indispensable person. They're built by ordinary people who were trusted with extraordinary responsibility. Here's what I want to say. Even Jesus didn't try to do it himself, right? He had 12 disciples that he taught, and then he sent them out on their own mission. But they wouldn't have known the mission without hearing Jesus's vision, right? So the leader gives the vision and teaches, and then they carry the disciples carried out the mission, right? Leadership is not about being the center of every solution. It's about preparing others to carry the mission forward. So anyway, this topic, a little bit less about culture, but you could imagine how it does affect your culture, right? Like I described the resentment that I had towards some of the team members, but also it's their growth, it is their growth. And like, we want our people to love their job. We want them to love their job. And we want, I want in 10 years, I want somebody to quit my company to go start their own company. And I want them to say, Eric, thank you. I could have never done this without your leadership and without your guidance, and awesome. Like, that's great. That person is going to be a friend forever. And hopefully they pass me in business and they can help me through my stuff. And, there cannot be a scarcity mindset. So many of our beliefs as people, forget about business, but people, our beliefs really limit us, and you can have a paradigm shift, and you can, there's a reason why, some people are wealthy and some people just stay stuck, or, there's a reason why some people have a lot of traffic violations and others have zero. It's not because I don't have traffic violations, but I also don't drive the speed limit. Like, there is something in our brain that creates our reality. And I've seen so many personalities come through this business and through my own personal life that I'm able to see that, like, what we think is, what we think about, we bring about. And so if anybody out there is saying to themselves, oh, Eric, you don't understand. I'm telling you, my guys, they're not good enough. They really let me down. I would beg you to look at yourself. Look at yourself. Look at your leadership. How are you delegating? How clear is your communication? Once I started blaming every single thing on myself, my life really improved, and certainly the business did as well. All the answers lie within us, and we can control certain outcomes by just really wanting to know, why did this happen? What could I have done differently? So anyway, I hope that this resonated with somebody. Again, the purpose of this podcast is to spread the word, to spread the word that company culture matters, that the way that we talk to each other, treat each other, and encourage each other, the way that we conduct ourselves in business really, really matters. And, I think it's easy to say at this point that a company can become more profitable through company culture. And it really works. And it also feels good. And so I'm just trying to spread the word. I'm trying to change the construction industry standard, what it means to be a contractor, and everything got a hell of a lot easier once I started loving my people. And I do. I love them. I care about them. And some days are easier than others, but I will never stop trying. So if you're a business owner or a leader of a department or whatever it may be, I hope that you can see the value of just doing the right thing and caring for our people as if they're our children, because there's really no difference between family and business. There's too many similarities between leadership and fatherhood, and I'm prepared to die on that hill. So that's what this podcast is about. I hope I encourage others to run their business in a similar way, and I think that's it for today. As always, thank you for staying tuned. Stay positive, be nice, and step out of your comfort zone. Bye.